So I have pizza today, and I have a few shoutouts, and then I'm going to get to my video. And my video is about 10 memorable movies from the 80s. Okay? So, first of all, Colleen Page. Big shout out to Colleen Page. I used Colleen's username last time on a shout out because that's what she sent me, but then she sent me what I assume is her real name or whatever. But so a big shout out to Colleen Page. Thanks for your support, Colleen. And Tim Brown. A big shout out to Tim Brown. Thank you for your support. And also a big shout out to all of you as well. Okay, I appreciate your support. Stay awesome and stay amazing. And I just really appreciate you tuning into my channel. Okay, now first thing I have to do is get down to my video. I got myself a pizza. This is a buffalo chicken pizza. I just got it from the deli. Got myself an orange crush. I got this like the king size type orange crush. Now, I'll just move these away. Maybe I can leave it here. So, I have 10 movies that I've selected. Now, these are not movies that I think are the greatest or the funniest or the best. These are just movies from that I've seen from my past. Now, of course, back in the 80s, the big video boom was on, video rentals, that sort of thing. So I watch more movies then than I ever did in my whole entire life, because we'd rent a movie. Eventually it would just be like maybe once a week, but when we got our first VCR and the whole video thing started, we'd rent movies every day, sometimes 3 or 4 at a time or more, it was crazy. So I saw a lot of movies back then, but anyways, so these movies have a common thread. They're all from the 80s, and they're all comedies. Okay, so that's good. There's some heat. I like these little deli pizzas, thin crusted. Very nice. Now, like I said, these are not in any order of good to bad, nothing like that. So the first movie up is Tin Man. Tin Man. I love that movie. It had Danny DeVito and Richard Dreyfuss. It also had Barbara Hershey, who played the wife of Danny DeVito. And you'd recognize, if you ever watched Frasier, you'd recognize John Mahoney, who played Fraser's dad, who I believe has since passed on. But the movie takes place in the 60s. Now, I don't like to give anything away, but it's about a couple of, it's when aluminum siding was very popular back in the, the 50s, 60s, whatever. And this is kind of the tail end of that. And Richard Dreyfuss and Danny DeVito's they are aluminum siding salesmen, commonly referred to in the industry as Tin Men. It starts out they both have Cadillacs, they back into each other. But the movie is really quite funny, a lot of rivalry, that sort of thing. It's really quite hilarious. I think pretty much anything with Danny DeVito is going to be pretty funny, And Richard Dreyfuss is very good at comedy. I mean, he was in Mr. Holland's Opus, he was in Jaws, but he does comedy as well as drama or that kind of thing. Very good movie. Barbara Hershey, like I said, is quite good. But the two main characters are Danny DeVito and Richard Dreyfuss, and there's a lot of supporting characters that are quite funny too. Ruthless People, it's the second one. Ruthless People, another Danny DeVito movie. Hilarious. Now, I haven't seen any of these movies in years, but I've watched them many times. And once in a while, I'll see one of those movies come on TV and I'll watch it. Now, Ruthless People had Danny DeVito. It also had an actor who was constantly cropping up in the 80s, Judge Reinhold. There was a guy who was working very hard through the 80s. He was in so many movies. Every time you saw a comedy, he either had a lead role or a supporting role or something, but he was in a lot of movies back then. He'd also pop up on Seinfeld. I think he was he would lean in and talk real close to people, that sort of thing. I think he was in the Santa Claus or something. He was one of those actors that you saw him all through the 80s and then just kind of, I wouldn't say disappeared, but didn't seem to be as busy as he was back then. These pizzas take about 20 minutes in the oven. They're perfect. Now, Bette Midler is in this movie as well. She's really, really funny. Really good. I'll just say that's about a kidnapping. And she gets kidnapped. And it's just hilarious. There's a real twist to it. And it's funny. Helen Slater plays Judge Reinhold's wife, and they're both really funny, really good. But Danny DeVito's so good on one-liners, And I don't want to give anything away, so I won't say too much anymore. Here's one that's on TV quite a bit. Women seem to like this movie. It's called Overboard, with Goldie Hawn and her husband Kurt Russell. Now, it's been on TV many times. I saw it on TV maybe less than a year ago. And I watched the whole thing. It was quite funny. It was good, Basically, it's about Kurt Russell's a single guy with his kids, and his kids are just, I guess they're kind of out of control a bit, but, Goldie Hawn goes overboard on her big rich yacht. She's a very rich person, gets amnesia. I don't want to say any more about it. Funny movie, really good. Very, very light, good comedy. I think a lot of women, like my ex-wife and my girlfriend Linda, they like the pairing of Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. I mean, they're actually a couple, but they also like that, and it's a good love story. So it's a movie I enjoyed too. It's very good. Now, this next movie is kind of interesting. Called Johnny Dangerously. Prior to seeing this movie, I'd never heard of Michael Keaton or Joe Piscopo. Mary Lou Henner from Taxi has a role in this movie, but it takes place back in the 30s, the gangster days. You know, these guys are all gangsters, and Michael Keaton kind of plays this James Cagney type, you know, and the way he plays it is actually really good, you know. Joe Piscopo was funny. Basically, Johnny Dangerously, the gangster, has to raise money because his mother is sick. Now, it's funny how things change, you know. I just want to see this in that movie I have here. Okay. When I first saw the movie, I thought it was hilarious. I remember we rented it on my 30th birthday. At my 30th birthday, man, I was so wasted I ended up in bed. By supper time after that, I got up again. And went downstairs and there were a bunch of people there watching Johnny Dangerously. Like I said, I'd seen it before. And I really thought it was a good movie. Funny. But years later, I was watching it. I guess it just came on TV on cable or something. And it wasn't that funny for some reason. You know, it's kind of weird. The things I thought were so funny before just seemed kind of silly, you know. Like I said, that was my first introduction to Michael Keaton. I'm not saying he hadn't done movies before that. I just didn't know who he was until that movie. Of course, he go on to do Beetlejuice and many other movies, even a Batman. But I think it came out around 84 or something, I'm not sure, but oh, here's a silly movie. It's a Mel Brooks movie. Remember when my daughter was little, guess in grade 1 or grade 2, she'd come home every day after school, get some snacks, sit on the couch and put that movie on videotape. We had it on videotape, so she'd plug that in and watch the same thing. It's called Spaceballs. With a name like that, it has to be a Mel Brooks movie. What else could it be? Mel Brooks is the same guy that brought us Blazing Saddles and different things like that. Now, is in this movie, as is Rick Moranis, Bill Pullman. Now, John Candy is one of those actors that the minute you see him on screen, you have to smile. I remember the movie Home Alone, where the mother's at the airport, just frantically trying to get home. And John Candy's in this Papa band, you know. And you can see these guys in the background, you know. At one point in the scene, they're in the background, and all of a sudden John Candy turns around, you see his face. And, you know, right away, you can't help but smile. You know, when you see John Candy, when you find out who that person is. Now, Spaceballs is a typical Mel Brooks movie, very, very silly. But funny. I really enjoyed it. Not something I watch all the time. It's almost like you have to lower your IQ a little bit, you know. But it's kind of fun. I love the frog sequence in the diner, you know. It's hilarious. There's a few cameos in there. John Hurt. But Rick Moranis is funny. A very funny movie. That's the thing about Mel Brooks. They can go either way. You know, you have to acknowledge that's going to be silly comedy. So you can enjoy it or hate it, one of the two. Now, another movie. I really enjoyed this one the first time I saw it. I thought it was hilarious. Down and Out in Beverly Hills. Nick Nolte, and once again Richard Dreyfuss. And once again Bette Midler. Bette Midler plays the wife of Richard Dreyfuss. Nick Nolte shows up. He's like a hobo, a homeless guy, right? And he shows up at their house. And they basically just take him in. It's funny how he transforms the whole family. Little Richard has a cameo in there. It's quite funny. But it's very good humor. Like I said, Richard Dreyfuss does comedy very well, as does Nick Nolte. Yeah. The whole cast is good in this movie. But just the effect that Nick Nolte as the character of a hobo, the effect he has on this whole family, it's great. Chevy Chase and Madeline Smith. Funny Farm. They leave the city, buy a farm, and Chevy Chase is he's a writer, and he wants to write a book and this kind of thing. I think he might be a sports writer or something, but anyways, it doesn't work out for him. But they're doing their best to try and fit into the whole rural lifestyle. Very good movie. Chevy Place always kind of plays it sort of straight, you know. But very funny. It's amazing how many movies I've seen in the 80s that had Chevy Chase or Bill Murray or Danny DeVito and people like that. John Candy, whatever. But Funny Farm. I really enjoyed it. It was good. And a movie that apparently came out around the same time, within weeks of it. Just The Great Outdoors. That had Dan Aykroyd and John Candy again. And them and their wives and the kids. They all meet at this big lodge, this big cabin out in the woods. I don't want to give nothing away, but Dan Aykroyd is this. Comes on like he's very, very, very wealthy, well-to-do, sort of thing, and kind of uppity. John Candy's a lot more laid back and down to earth. But they have a lot of adventures. Once again, very good, silly, lighthearted comedy. Because that's what comedy is a lot of times. It's kind of lighthearted and funny and silly. I think Annette Bening I think she plays Dan Aykroyd's wife, I believe. Glad he got the big one. This pizza's good. Now, okay, so another movie with John Candy, Summer Rental. I thought the location drumming, this movie was very good. Lots of water, lots of ocean, sailboats. John Candy and his family rent a summer rental for a few weeks in the summer for their vacation. The first one they rent, it turns out they got the wrong address. I guess I should have said that, probably given too much away. But like I said, anything with John Candy, for me, is quite funny. was a small roll. I think he plays a guy named Skelly, I think, who becomes a friend of John Candy. He's like an old sailor, an old salt. John Candy enters this regatta, this race, sailboat race. It's quite funny. This is a pretty good pizza. It's very flavorful, but I find it to be a little bit boring because there's not enough. I'd like to have more veg on there, I think, you know. I got the chicken, some red peppers, and cheese, and it's nice to see a few other things, you know. I like pizzas that are really loaded with mushrooms and tomatoes and all kinds of stuff. So the next movie. This one had Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Ted Knight, and Rodney Dangerfield. Caddyshack. Now, I saw this one at the movie theater when it first came out. It's a very silly movie, but I really liked it. I thought Rodney Dangerfield's character was so over the top. Bill Murray was really, really funny. As the groundskeeper on this golf course. Once again, Chevy Chase just kind of plays it straight, you know. He's a real rich guy, you know. This is a rich man's golf club. You know, basically for rich, very wealthy people. Ted Knight's very good. He has a role there too. He's just really quite. He's just typical Ted Knight. Now, there's a very famous scene in this movie. We'd heard about it before we went to see the movie. So we had the swimming pool and somebody throws a chocolate bar in the swimming pool. Kind of like maybe like a Baby Ruth or Noah Henry or something. And it looks like a turd floating around there, right? And they got the Jaws music and they show it from under the water. And people see it and they all start to panic and freak out. Of course, the audience laughs and laughs and laughs. We all think it's hilarious. I remember watching that a few years later, and I didn't even so much as crack a smile. I thought it was just really kind of, it wasn't even silly, it was just kind of stupid, you know, like, why I thought it was so funny the first time was beyond me. But I guess that kind of takes me back to the Johnny Dangerous movie, the Johnny Dangerously movie. When I first saw it, I thought it was hilarious, and seeing it a couple years later, I just didn't, you know, I didn't really get it. I thought, you know, it's nothing funny at all, it's just really kind of weak, you know, lame. No, I guess our taste changes as we grow older, maybe, I don't know. because I saw at the movie theater was just really, really funny. Well, audience was just cracking up. That was at 10. Gotta make sure. That was 10. So I'd like to hear from you. Let me know some of your favorite comedies, either from the 80s or it doesn't have to be, because I know some of you may not have been born then. Mind you can still watch those movies, but a lot of us like to watch movies from our own era. But it doesn't have to be from the 80s. It could be your favorite comedy, you know, or some of your favorite comedies. Silly or not. I enjoy a good laugh, like good comedies. Years ago, my whole family's we're gonna go to the movie theater and see that movie Galaxy Quest. So Galaxy Quest was a movie that was had Tim Allen and a very Sigourney Weaver, very good cast. Sam Rockwell. Anyways, we promised the kids we'd take them to see this movie on Friday night. Well, I had the flu or something. I wasn't feeling good. So my ex said she'd take the kids by herself. And I was starting to feel better, but certainly not 100%, so I decided not to go. But after I left the house, I got dressed. I thought, you know what? I'm not feeling great, but I think I'm feeling good enough to go. I'd like to go see this movie. I didn't want to miss out on the whole family thing, right? So we had a second vehicle, so hopped in the van. Drove to the movie theater, actually caught up with them in the lineup. Of course, they were surprised to see me. So we all went to the movie theater together. Sat together. Of course. I remember kind of slouching down in my seat, just sort of slouching down, sort of lying back, and I'm just not kind of have my eyes like that, I kept thinking, oh, I'm gonna have to throw up. So the movie starts. And it gets going, and next thing it was a very funny movie, very enjoyable, very well done. And by the time the movie's over, I felt so much better. Just, having all those good laughs really, really made me feel better, really perked me up. They say laughter is the best medicine. To some degree, I'm sure that's true. You can taste the tanginess, almost like mayonnaise in here. Very good pizza, but like I said, it's just kind of boring after a while. crust pizzas. The other day I had a couple slices of thick crust. And it was nice, very filling, but very doughy. There's a lot of comedies out there. And I still have this theory there. When videotape was all the rage, you know, like video rentals, all that, you know, Blockbuster, whatever. I mean, you could rent movies at 7-Eleven and gas stations, for gosh sakes. Long pause stores and rented movies. Everybody did. I have a theory that the movie industry just cranked out movies just to keep the public fed. I think a lot of people, they thought, well, if it doesn't do well, the theater might do good on video, you know. I think some movies were like that. This is not a comedy, but The Shawshank Redemption did not do well at the box office, but became a huge cult classic. It's probably still my favorite movie. Well, I'm glad I got the big king can. That's a good size when you're eating pizza. Wow, that was good. Very good. Didn't seem like it did 10, but I guess I did. They just went so fast, that's all. Yeah. Yeah. Lots of crumbs. Wow, that was good. Okay, there it is, my friends. 10 memorable movies. 10 memorable comedies from the 80s, to be exact. And one small to medium-sized pizza. I guess that's probably like a personal pizza, I guess. Yeah. If that had been a thick crust, I could have ate the whole thing. Couldn't have done it. Because it would have been like, you know, twice as thick or even more. But there it is. That's my video. Thank you for tuning in. You want a shout out, hit me up. Okay, your birthday wish. Shout out doesn't have to be for you, it could be for somebody else. A lot of people say, how do I get one of your shout outs? Well, just ask me in the comments section. And also, I'm going to start posting my an email address or a postal address because a lot of people say they want to contact me. So my email address is in my YouTube somewhere. I come across it once in a while. Don't know exactly where it is, but I know it's there. But I'll post it, and if you want to know, just ask me. And then if you want to send me some messages to my my email, and some people have sent me pictures of themselves, you know, because I have no idea what you look like, how amazing you really look. So I have no idea how beautiful you are, how handsome you are, or whatever. But you don't have to. Or send me a picture of your dog or something. And as far as